Welcome to the Rat Race to 5 podcast, where we discuss money, mindset, real estate investing, and ways to achieve financial independence. Whether you are a rookie or a veteran needing new ideas for investing or creating side hustles, you're in the right place. Here to challenge you to think out of the box, your hosts, Felipe Mejia and Diego Corzo.
Guys, welcome to the Rat Race to 5 podcast. We have an amazing story. Michael, who's an immigrant from Cuba, come at a young age, ended up going to a really good school. I'll let Diego talk about all this, but his story about reaching 100%er is huge for me because it really, and listen to the end about how he reached financial independence through his small multifamilies. It's an amazing story.
It reminds me a lot of like how I got started too, working at GM. We have a lot in common, but it just shows the potential of what one can do when they start the right way with just what's most accessible when you want to get started and get over the analysis paralysis.
Yeah, guys, I've never seen Diego.
No,
I was gonna say, I've never seen you fangirl over a guest. So I saw you getting more excited during this podcast because you saw that it generated with you. And I think a lot of our listeners are also going to be able to kind of attach themselves to the story coming from immigrant families or whatever the case may be. It's just a really good story about an immigrant winning, reaching financial independence, going to MIT school. It's a great story. Make sure you listen to the end, guys. But no more about us. Let's get right into it.
Oh, I thought it was just one.
No, it's all good. Guys, so if you're listening to the podcast, we always clap at the beginning before the mic sync just so that the engineer sees the spike and splices it right there. But Michael kept clapping, so the engineer's going to be like, clap, clap, clap. No, that's hilarious.
I'm excited.
What a great way to start. Diego, what's up, man? How's Austin? I know you just came back from Puerto Rico.
Yes. Puerto Rico was a lot of fun back in Austin. Dude, I literally landed and I went to a final walkthrough. Like it was back to back. So it's awesome.
Dude, you're that guy though. You can show up. Like you can go have fun, but like when you are needed and requested or you have a meeting, like you show up. It's great. Michael, what's up, man? We're excited to have you on the show today. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really excited and honored to be here on the podcast. It's my first podcast actually, so I'm pretty excited to see what's all about. Yeah.
Oh man,
thanks
that's
for having
awesome.
me.
Well, we're excited to hear your story because I think it's going to benefit a lot of people who are interested in real estate. I think you said some crypto and just everything that you're doing. So why don't we get started? But before we get into like your story, let's find out who Michael was in high school and in college. What did you study? What were your friend groups like? Any funny stories? Like we want people to be able to attach themselves to a certain story or something. So let's figure out, who are you, Michael? Who were you in high school and in college?
Yeah, so a little bit about me. I'm born and raised in Miami, Florida, son of 2 Cuban refugees who left Cuba after the revolution. And I just settled in Miami to start a brand new life. I was raised speaking Spanish at home, so I'm a native Spanish speaker. And I was always taught to be fully responsible and take responsibility and ownership for the things that I do and the behavior that I would take, whether that was good behavior or bad behavior. I would take ownership for it. So going into high school, elementary and high school, I was pretty the quiet kid in the classroom. I never really was out and like talkative. I was really quiet, reserved to myself, very introverted, and had my close group of friends, but that was it. I never really did any sports throughout elementary or middle school. My parents were very hesitant to let me go out onto the streets and like meet new people. I don't know if that was just the mentality or the mindset of like back in Cuba and like trustworthiness and stuff like that. But I never really grew around tight community except my parents. I mean, I had my family; that was my foundation. But I'm an only child, so never really grew up with siblings. No pets in the house either, so very, very solitary, if you want to call it that. But anyways, going into high school, I was very studious. I was sort of the Jimmy Neutron. That was like my nickname in high school, and like because I had my hair's short now, but I used to be a lot longer, and my dad would put it in a waveform a little bit better than now. Yeah, but kind of like what Diego has now. So people would call me that, and that was my nickname. I would be the kid that would like get good grades and like be very studious. And then in high school, I joined the swimming team. So that was pretty exciting to like start doing sports and getting to meet new folks that were like interested in the same area. So I had a couple of friends in the swimming team, and I became very close with my mentors and teachers who along the way helped me apply for college. And I'm very thankful for having them and being a great resource. I'm always going to be grateful for having them being my mentors throughout high school, and making me realize of what I was capable of. Because another thing that I had growing up was that scarcity mindset and that mentality that we have to save every penny, and we have to like really like buckle down and only spend on the things that we really need. Because my parents again came from this background that they didn't have much growing up. So having those mentors in high school and my teachers to guide me through the process and make me realize that I was capable of much more was great. And that led me to apply to a bunch of Ivy League schools and top schools around the country. I even applied to MIT thinking that I wasn't going to get accepted. That was my reach school that many people refer to, and I got accepted and in regular admission, because there's always like the early action and regular admission. So I was on the fence about applying for early action or regular, but I decided to hold off until regular to make sure I had a stronger application. But yeah, all of that to say that, I mean, growing up in that household of like very limited mindset per se, and then growing up and realizing that I was capable of much more and getting accepted to MIT.
That's
Wow.
cool, man.
Yeah,
That's a
there's a lot
crazy
there.
journey.
Congrats.
Because one of the things that I did like about that is that we have to realize, right, as first generation immigrants, whether like I'm a dreamer, I'm a DACA recipient, right? But we have to understand that our parents are always doing the best that they can do based on what they know, right? Based on their own experience. So it's really cool to see that you did have those people that were able to help you in college to make you see who you can really become based on their own experiences too. And you being able to say, you know what? Yes, I believe this in myself, and let's just do it. That's
Absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
That's huge, Michael, because like you had great mentors in your life outside of your parents. Your parents probably showed you a great work ethic coming to this country and doing what they can, but having people at a young age that believe in you, that that are there and pushing you to do better, like that's huge. And those are the things that I strive for my son to get outside of the house. Like I'm starting to realize that I get my son from like 7:45 or 8 to like 9 when he leaves, and then I get him from like 6 to 9 at night. Like there's a huge chunk in the day where somebody else is influencing my child, and that's scary. So like I'm kudos to your parents for putting you in the right places where you needed to be, and then you taking the right decisions to joining the swim team and getting mentors and getting fed by people that are going to speak life into you and continue to have you grow. So I think that's huge. What was MIT like though? That sounds like a school that I would not get into. Right, Diego?
Right, 100%. But once he said the Jimmy Neutron, and like, man, so you probably did some kind of engineering stuff too there or something.
Yeah, so I was always the math and science whiz. Like that was like what naturally flowed to me. I was never the kid that really enjoyed English classes. That was my worst subject that I always performed in. But yeah, I was always math and science, and my dad always was tutoring me. So my dad, actually, one thing I forgot to mention is he was much older. So there was like a 30-year gap between my mom and dad. And he was basically having he was self-employed, and he was able, speaking to the point what Felipe was talking about, is like, he would pick me up in the morning. He would take me to school in the morning, I'm sorry, and then pick me up after school. And I would spend the majority of the time with him versus my mom would be working most of the day. So I really grew close to him, and he would like tutor me and like teach me math and science because those were his strengths as well. And that was just my natural doing well in school.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I went to an engineering college, So I get to say that. I did not study engineering. I went to one of the highly respected engineering colleges in Tennessee. It was Tennessee Tech University. A lot of our grads go to like really big stuff, but it's funny 'cause I was like, I'm gonna go for sociology. My degree has a really nice picture on it because it's from a nice school, but that's really about it. So Michael, what did you do after college? What job did you get? What did you end up doing? And then we'll talk about how you got into real estate.
Yeah, so real quick, throughout college, I participated in the rifle team. I got a little bit more into sports there. And then I majored in electrical engineering and computer science. So the way MIT does it's just one degree, but they mesh together electrical engineering, computer science. And for those MIT alumni out there that are listening, I majored in 6-2. So everything at MIT is with numbers. So I was a 6-2 major at MIT. I graduated in 2017. And then growing up, another thing that my dad specifically sort of pushed me to become was a lawyer, since I think it resonates a lot with Hispanic folks that our parents are always pushing us to be like doctors or lawyers or engineers, and because that's where the money's at, right? But I wasn't quite sure that I wanted to do law, so that's why I went into engineering. And then after that, I had the intention of doing patent law or intellectual property law, which requires some sort of science background to be able to do that type of work. And so what I did is I ended up doing an internship for a law firm in Boston, and spent a couple months sort of getting my feet wet and tasting the field to see if it was something that I wanted to do. Ultimately, I decided it didn't really capture my attention. I was going to be sitting at a desk for the majority of the day, reading papers and just filling out paperwork, which didn't really excite me a whole lot. I'm more of a hands-on type of person. So I ended up accepting a job at General Motors right after college. I entered their 2-year rotational program, which at the time was called TRAC. It stands for something, but I can't remember exactly what it is. But that allowed me to do 6 4-month rotations throughout the company in different areas of engineering within the company. So think of it like 6 back-to-back internships. And I was really able to sort of get a sense of what I really enjoyed doing. And cars were always a hobby of mine growing up. I always liked learning about cars, how they worked, and even going on trips. Road trips are a huge hobby of mine. I love just getting in the car and going out and exploring. So I thought, well, why not merge my hobby with my degree? And that's what led me to General Motors. At General Motors, after the 2-year rotational program, I landed in calibration engineering. So up to about 6 months ago, I was doing diagnostic engineering. So basically that little check engine light that turns on in your car every once in a while to tell you that there's something wrong. That's what I was calibrating in the back end, to making sure that it would detect when there was a fault in the car, and making sure that it was meeting all the emissions regulations set by CARB. So that was pretty cool. We got to drive a bunch of cars that weren't even out in the public yet. So we had a lot of fun there. And but then my girlfriend and I, that's where I met my girlfriend. And then we decided that the cold was just not for us. My girlfriend's from California, Southern California, from Los Angeles. So and I'm from Miami. So we were just like, this is not, we're done with the cold, and decided to move to Arizona, which is where I'm at right now, and transferred to the IT department there. So I'm still using my degree in a different form, but now we're based out of Arizona.
Yeah, hold on. There's a lot to talk about there.
One sec here. Yeah. So what's interesting about your story too is that you studied like in MIT, then got into GM, and I actually worked at General Motors for 2 years, and I was given the choice to go to Detroit or Austin. And this was back when Arizona was not created and the Atlanta one wasn't created either. on the IT department. So, and I remember being in that interview, and I told them, look, I do not like the snow. So the main, like, I'm going to Austin, and I've never been to Austin before either. But yeah, I worked at General Motors for 2 years on the tech side, and then after that, I quit my job. I saw that, I realized too that I didn't want to be doing this full time as a computer engineer. And but yeah, that's cool, dude. It's cool. We have a lot in common.
So you moved from Boston, and then so you moved a little bit warmer weather. Yeah, let's get into real estate. How did you find real estate after after all that transition from GM?
Yeah, so the first thing I did when I got to Michigan was start looking for housing. And I realized that the properties in Detroit were so dirt cheap, like they were going for $10,000, $20,000, which I would never had seen before. And I was like, whoa, how can this be? And then I started reaching out to different realtors in the area, and I came across one realtor who worked with other investors and took me to show a couple properties in downtown Detroit. And I was telling him, hey, like how can I make this like can I occupy a unit and like rent out the other? Because one thing in the Hispanic community that we tend to do a lot is like we live in one room and then we rent out the others, right? So it's pretty common in our culture. So what I was already, my gears were already cranking in my head as to how I could start doing this. And growing up, another thing my father taught me how to do was to manage properties, because he owned the property in Miami where I was born, but he also went out and bought a rental property in Orlando in 2010 and had me sort of manage the property from Miami. So I already had the sort of the background as to how rental properties would work, and sort of the experience of dealing with tenants and like writing checks. I was always be the one that write the check, and then my dad would just sign off, and like doing all the tracking of expenses and all that good stuff. So in my mind, I was like now it's my turn to start doing this. So anyways, I ended up purchasing a duplex in downtown Detroit that was recently remodeled. So the previous owners were moving out, and they for personal reasons, and they were leaving the property in great shape. So compared to all the other properties in the area, this was like a really good one. And I put 25% down, and I rented out both of them. So I was still renting at the time, so I didn't move into the property. So I did an investment loan on that one, and right away I got tenants to occupy the property. And this property was managing almost 2%. If we're following the 1% rule, this property was almost 2%. And I was like, whoa, like this is really powerful, and there's a lot of potential in Detroit. So I just kept on looking, and by the time that my lease was up in one of my apartments that I was actually living with a roommate at the time, so we were splitting the rent in half. And then when our lease was up, I was like, oh, let me just go out and buy one where I can occupy it. So that's where I went out into the suburbs of Detroit to be like closer to work. I was working out of the proving grounds in Milford, and purchased another duplex. This one I was able to do an FHA loan, 3.5% down, occupy one unit and rent out the other. The good thing about this was that the other side of the duplex was able to cover 100% of my mortgage. And through work, we were using company cars. Given that our work situation required us to drive the company cars, I was very fortunate to not have to pay for gas or for much of insurance. Like most of the time we were able and we were allowed to use the company car. And so my housing expense was covered, my transportation expenses were covered, and then my food was very minimal. So I was like, I'm just saving up a ton. And yeah, so I was like, this is the life. So I started reaching out to other people that were doing the same thing. I started listening to about podcasts. So podcasts were an amazing catalyst to getting me started into real estate. I started with some financial independence podcasts like Afford Anything, but with Paula Pant. I was following Coach Carson. I was following the Bigger Pockets podcast, and then I was actually listening to Felipe in the Rookie podcast when he was there, and it was just like all this information was just going in, and I was like, I gotta act. So it was all a matter of action taken from there.
So talk about how, let's go back a little bit. Let's talk about how important it is to eliminate your biggest expense. And then it sounds like you also eliminated your second biggest expense. So people are going to say, oh, well, Michael's lucky he had a good job, or Michael was lucky because he had money or support or this or the other. But it sounds like even though you had those things, you still took the initiative to try to eliminate your top two biggest expense, which is vehicle and your housing expense. Talk about how that has like really pushed you forward to be successful quicker because you did kind of make those sacrifices in the beginning. I'm sure you were making a good salary. You could have been like, I'm just going to buy the house that I want, live with my girlfriend, buy the Ferrari or whatever. But it sounds like you took a different approach. Can you dig into that a little more?
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to share as well, full disclaimer. I mean, I went to MIT. Thankfully, I was able to get financial aid and merit scholarships that were able to cover 100% of my expenses. So I walked out of college with zero debt, basically. But my net worth, I didn't have a whole lot of money, and I didn't have debt. So I was starting off at zero, which is an amazing feat already coming out of college. And I just wanted to be transparent about that. And also, so the first thing I got into GM was like, okay, I need to start saving now because I'm at zero. I need to start like accumulating wealth here. And coming from my Hispanic background, my mentality was always like, I gotta save. So that like natural instinct was like, okay, I'm making this much, and but I need to set aside a certain amount of money. Another thing that kind of led to me saving up more money was networking with the right people at work. Because one thing that I found out when I got to GM was like all the amazing benefits that they have, including the 401k match that they had. So I had this really good friend, we still talk every once in a while, who sort of sat me down and showed me what were the benefits at work. And like, because I had never had an employer that would offer full level of benefits. So he sat me down and he told me, look, you have eligibility to your HSA, you have your 401k match, you have your health insurance, dental, medical, and you also have the ability to save into a Roth IRA to start saving even more once you max out your 401k. So I learned about all these things, and then listening to these podcasts as well while working kind of like helped me just getting into the right mindset of saving, but saving smart, right? Like knowing what you're saving for. So then it got me thinking, well, what do I want to save for? And then I was like, okay, this whole real estate seems to be doing really well. So I started setting aside money for real estate in addition to retirement.
That's cool.
That's
cool.
Amazing.
And now you are at 8 doors from what you and I were talking, right?
Right. So from when I left college to now, I've acquired 8 doors in total. So I would say in 5 years, I've been able to acquire 8 doors.
That's
awesome.
Amazing.
That's
awesome.
That's amazing.
Dude, our stories are similar in a way from the house hack perspective, especially like I was working at General Motors, and then I bought 2 properties before I bought my first one to house hack. So I kept my rent at like $500 a month. renting a room. And just because I knew, I was like, hey, I'm not gonna pay much more than like 500 or 550 until I can live for free. So that was my mentality. But totally agree with you. Like once you have your biggest expenses, right? And this is not something that a lot of people are aware, but once you do, it begins to be a game, right? It's sort of like, how can I have my assets pay for certain bills and have one house pay for your rent, one house pay for your car, or at this point with you, fortunately working at GM, that was one of the cool things, right? But at the end of the day, is having that understanding that if you do want to achieve financial independence, you just need to invest wisely, especially if you do it for passive income.
One thing that these podcasts also like allowed me to learn was how to like leverage credit cards to be able to stack up points or miles in a way that was didn't accumulate debt. So I started playing the credit card game too. And while I was like renovating these homes that I was occupying and like buying stuff at Home Depot or like buying stuff on Amazon, I would sign up for new credit cards and do the minimum spend to rack up the points and then just add them all up. And now that I've accumulated so many points, now it's allowed me to like just travel on these points. So all of these 5 years of expenses have been just accumulating to the point where now I have over 1 million like points between Chase and Amex, and I can just go and stay for free at hotels and just reap the rewards. So that's another cool thing that I was able to do.
But that's the cool thing about like doing the right things, even when no one is watching. Like you didn't need to do that, right? But it's like there's something comes out of doing the right things at all times that pay off on the back end. Like I remember being on the construction site working and thinking, it is Friday at 6 o'clock. I don't need to be here. I could be doing something, but I just kept grinding and kept hustling because I knew that I had a better tomorrow. And you with credit card points or Diego or school and everything, like there's something. People always say luck, and I'm starting to hear that a lot. People are getting lucky or you got lucky. And it's like, no, it seems like we just did the right things a lot and that added up, right? And there's something powerful about that. Would you mind expanding a little bit more on the credit card side? Because I know a lot of people's ears just probably perked up. So tell us, what did you do? How do you use them? I know everyone just got up out of their chair and was like, ooh, I want to hear more about that.
Yeah, so I basically started targeting the Chase cards. So there's this thing called the Chase 524 rule. And basically the best way to approach the credit card hacking strategy is to apply for as many Chase cards as you can first, and then start diversifying out into like other brands. So I started with like the Chase trifecta, which I think is like the Chase Freedom Unlimited, the Chase Sapphire Preferred, and then the can't remember what the other one is. There's a third, but I can't remember now. So I got those three, and then I was able to rack up those points. I got my other friends involved too, so I would send referral links to them, and that would help me get more points.
Awesome.
And then
I love it.
Yeah, yeah, and then I opened up my business credit card for the first time when I realized that I was mixing my personal and real estate stuff. So that's a good way to like start separating your expenses, is to get a business credit card. It also helps to build up your business credit. So I got the American Express Platinum Business Card for the first time, and that has been amazing. I mean, I can't tell you how many perks I've been able to get out of that, and people might get shocked by the value, like the annual fee that you have to pay like $695 for the annual fee, but it's so worth it. Like you get so much out of it. I think you get even more out of it than those $700 that you might be paying the annual fee if you use it properly. So yeah, I think at this point I have about 15 credit cards in total between personal and business credit, and that's not even like the tip of the iceberg. Like I'm just gonna continue building up credit because I've learned that that's the best way to like leverage money for real estate or what have you.
It really is your report card on borrowing. Like when I go to the bank, they don't ever ask me for my college degree. They ask me for income and credit score, right? Like that is your, do you have an A plus or not? So I try to keep mine above 750. I'm sure Michael, yours is in the 800, so don't laugh at my credit score.
No, that's really good. That's still excellent. Yeah, I mean,
So let's move on. Let's talk about one of your properties. Let's talk about your favorite one, and then we'll go into lessons learned. Like, run the numbers on one of your favorite ones. What's it doing now, and things like that. Let's talk about it.
sure. Yeah. So I'll say that my favorite one is the property I bought when I was General Motors in Michigan. I purchased the duplex on an FHA loan, so 3.5% down. I purchased it for $350,000, and got, during the negotiation side, I was able for the seller to give me some concessions. I think it was like 3% concessions. So what that allowed me to do was to save even more cash, because now I'm going into the closing table with 3.5% down, 3% concessions. So my down payment was very minimal. And I'm going into this property knowing that I'm going to be cash flowing, even while I'm occupying the property. So the once we closed, I think I was able to get a tenant in there like a month into it. I just did some minor renovations or fixes to it, and I was able to rent it out for $2,300. And my PITI with PMI, so this is with PMI and taxes and insurance, was only $2,000. So I was cash flowing $300 out of the gate in that property. This was a duplex on a 1 acre lot with a 1,600 square foot basement and a I think it's 1,600 living space plus a 1,600 basement, and then my unit on the side was 800 square feet with a 2 bed and 1 bath. The other side had or has 3 bedrooms and 1.5 bathrooms.
So just for anyone that's listening, anyone can buy a duplex, triplex, or quadplex with just a regular loan because you're going to live in it. An FHA, like you're not going to have to go get a special loan for a small multifamily of this nature. And like Michael said, you can rent out the other sides showing income. Now, I always say get an LLC. Now, I'm not a CPA or a tax attorney, but get an LLC. You put that income into the LLC and start creating a business because you're going to buy more rentals. Eliminating your biggest expense, which is your mortgage. And now you can show after a year or sooner that the mortgage is being covered, by tenants, and you can apply for another loan if you got to move because of job or whatever. And it sounds like Michael has done this a couple of times, and now you have a bunch of doors. You've been doing this 4 or 5 years. Michael, what's your goal going forward? Are you headed towards financial independence? Are you financially there? What is your goal for the next couple of years?
Yeah, great question. I'm glad you asked. So right now with my 8 doors, I am technically 100% covered my expenses. So I'm technically financially free at my current
Michael,
level.
You're not as excited. Wait, no. Wait. You are not as excited as I. Your parents had an American dream for you. You bounce off the walls, bro. You've reached financial independence, with many people don't. I don't think people celebrate themselves enough.
Yeah.
What would your parents say right now, man? What would your grandparents say, bro? You've reached financial independence through the American dream that Diego once said, I am the American dream, right?
Right.
Michael, that's huge.
100%.
Anyone that's listening, bro, you did it in 4.5, 5 years.
Because
you went to an
he's
MIT.
27. He became 100%er. He went to MIT and became 100%er by 27.
That's huge. You beat me.
Awesome.
I was 28 or 29.
Oh, no way. Yeah, no. Yeah. I mean, it's a bittersweet feeling because growing up it's tough because growing up in this household of my parents always working, my mom going into work at 7 a.m., coming out at 7 p.m., barely being able to see her, and my dad just drilling into me hey, you gotta save, you gotta become a lawyer, and now that I have the freedom to do whatever I want, it's like a weight has just been lifted off my shoulders. I'm able to do whatever I want. And the fact that I was able to do that, like you said, in 4.5, 5 years, it's amazing, and it's achievable, it's doable. and now that I have my hands on it, it's like the possibilities are endless.
I honestly don't think that us as Latinos, we celebrate each other enough, which is why we're huge on celebration. We take a whole like 15 minutes every Monday in Rat Race to celebrate W's, because I don't think it's in our cultura to celebrate. It's like, oh, you started a new business, pues, you know, a ver si te va bien, cuánto te va a costar, qué es la seguranza. Like, we go towards the negative route versus uplifting each other. Dude, you reached financial independence in 4 years. You have a great college degree, a great job, like you're living the life you like. Like, that's awesome. And it's empowering to other people to know that an immigrant from Cuba who got here was able to do this. Or Diego, same thing, right? A DACA recipient was able to reach his 100%er. And actually, Diego, you should explain what 100%er means, because somebody listening is probably going to be like, wait, what does that mean? But yeah. Dude, Michael, I want to congratulate you, bro. And every other person I don't care if you're black, white, whatever, Latino or not, celebrate your wins. Like, it's okay to soak in that for a second. I mean, obviously don't stop there, keep going, but like, it's okay to celebrate your wins, you know? But Diego, what is 100%er, bro? You said that earlier.
Yeah, 100%er. This is something that I learned from my mentors in GoBundance. It's basically a formula to achieve financial freedom, because a lot of people think
in GoBundance. Did you hear that, Michael? Small flex.
I have to give credit. They were the ones that taught me, and they taught me this formula when I was 23, and I achieved 100%er by 26, 27. So, and it's just the level of awareness that once you know this formula that all of you guys are going to learn here now, can help you achieve financial independence. So, in a nutshell, is
grab a sheet of paper, guys. Grab a sheet of paper.
It's your passive income, your monthly passive income divided by your monthly living expenses. So to give you an example, if you have $500 coming in passive income, cash flow, $500, and you spend $5,000 a month, then at that point you would put 500 divided by 5,000, you get 10, right? Or 1/10. That is 10%er. The idea is that once you begin to play with this formula, the goal should be to get to 25%er in year 2, or maybe that's year 3, then 50%er by year 4, and then by year 5, year 6, and so forth. But you do not need millions of dollars like a lot of people think. There's another thing that people say, hey, if you put it in the stock market at 4% or whatever, you can live off that. I'm more from no, I'm going to be putting money into real estate and having that pay me, because you can achieve that in 5 years. And you're a living proof of that, right? By being able to understand this formula, that's why I said 100%er, because you just need to focus in going from 10 to 25, 25 to 50, and so forth.
That's huge. I think a lot of people do think that it takes up to 60 years old to retire. And that's probably because like the infrastructure here in the United States requires people to work until they're 60. So we've been like engraved that. But I think a lot of entrepreneurs, immigrants, maybe weren't raised that way. And we're like, wow, this country is a beautiful country. I love being here. I can probably reach financial independence in 5 to 6 years if I just invest correctly, take care of my credit, and buy cash flow assets versus depreciating liabilities. And that's what Michael did. I'm sure Michael didn't buy a Ferrari 5 years ago. Instead, he bought a little duplex or a quadplex and then kept doing the right decisions over and over and over. And that's stacked on. And now he's 100%er. I bet you're a millionaire. I wonder if when's the last time you checked your net worth, but I'm sure you're a millionaire as well. Most of the times, financial independence leads to millionaire status based on equity and stuff like that. But
yeah, I can say I'm a millionaire driving a 2002 Nissan Xterra with over 200,000 miles on it. So, and
you worked at GM, bro. Go get something nice, bro.
Dude, I was working at GM, and I still got I had friends that got the Cadillac, that got the Camaro, coming right out of college. We were like 23, 24, and I got a Honda Civic. And I got a used 09 Honda Civic, and then I got my Accord. But yeah, dude, I didn't do that either. Yeah. So
that's hilarious.
That's funny.
We just got our Teslas, Diego and I. We've been doing real estate for 6 years. Bro, I had a 2005 F-150 truck until like last year. And it was a V8 gas guzzler. It was not okay. And a Nissan Sentra. I think those are my 2 vehicles that I used for a long time. And even like you said, financially independent and reach the millionaire status. Like I waited a long time to get what I wanted. So Michael, what do you want, Michael? And then we're going to move on because we're going a little long here. What's the car that you want?
So I think my future car, I think
you're
is
a car
going to be
guy.
a Tesla too. Yeah, I like Teslas too. I think I'm going to go for the Tesla as well. I'm excited for the Cybertruck. We'll see how well it does.
I got you, bro. Awesome. Michael, what's this year's goal for you? And then where can people find you? Where can people reach out to you?
Yeah, so my goal this year is to network with as many people as possible. I've been able to acquire 8 units on my own with my own credit right now, but I've sort of reached that limit where my DTI is starting to get maxed out, and I need more cash. So I think my goal is to network with more people, partner up, do partnerships, and get out there and start putting more into short-term rentals. I want to try and explore that market a little bit more. And yeah, I mean, I'm going to be just networking with as many people as possible and getting out there and learning more about creative ways of financing.
That's awesome, man. And if anybody does have questions, what is your IG handle or where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can find me at First Gen Investor on Instagram. I'm also First Gen Investor on TikTok, and you can also reach me on Twitter, First Gen Invest _. I don't do Twitter a whole lot, but the best way to reach me would be Instagram.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, thank you very much for being here, for sharing your story of how you're achieving your version of the American dream. So it is amazing, and I know it's going to inspire a lot of people. So thank you.
I agree. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
The Rat Race to 5 podcast, where we discuss money, mindset, real estate investing, and ways to achieve financial independence. Whether you are a rookie or a veteran needing new ideas for investing or creating side hustles, you're in the right place.